So next speaker, she's very interesting. She has a very exciting combination of background. Sophi Kravitz, she's an electronic engineer who works for Hackaday, and then now is promoting a competition that's, if you win the prize, wait for it, you actually win the trip to the space. So, so she is also going to talk about her different experiences attending Maker Fairs in different regions in the world. So she is going to challenge herself by going through 9 stories in one talk. So I can assure you this, you won't be bored. Welcome, Sophi.
I get to. Hi, everyone. Yay! I wanted to say thanks to Maker Faire Shenzhen and to Seed Studio for hosting. This has been a really amazing week. I've met so many cool people and made all these new friends, and it's everything that I love about Maker Faire. So I am an electronic engineer and an installation artist. This is the 9th Maker Faire that I have exhibited in, and the first one in another country besides the United States. I live in the United States. I live in New York. And there are some pretty interesting differences between the 8 that I have been at in the United States and the one that is here in China. One of the most interesting differences is that in the United States and here in China, we are all celebrating creativity and the power of making. And here in Shenzhen, some of this has translated into a product. You guys are in the center of manufacturing. Shenzhen, all the things that the booths have so many different interesting products, things that have come from people's passions and have already gone to market. For me, exhibiting an art project or something that is not a product in the United States, I don't have a connection to manufacturing. It's not that easy for me to go ahead and manufacture something. So it is not the first thing that I think about. And I think that is true of many of us in the United States at Maker Fairs. So, as Grace said, I'm going to go through, oh good, there's a clock here. Okay, I'm going to try to go through 9 stories in 20 minutes, and so nobody is going to be bored. I work for Hackaday.com, which is a DIY electronics blog. It's very popular in the United States, and I work on the Hackaday Prize. The Hackaday Prize is a competition for anybody, any maker, any creative person, any hacker, any engineer, anybody who wants to build something. And yes, it is true. We are giving away a trip to space for the very best one. But what if you have a product? If you have a product and you want to enter this and you've just started developing it in the past year, you can win. We have a different prize for best product, and this is $100,000 and 6 months of free rent in California to help you to build this product. These are the bubbles. These are all the things I'm going to go through. So if you get bored, just wait. I'll move on. There are a lot of overlaps between maker projects and traditional industry. I think that many projects and products, they start in the electronics world with the same kinds of things. We start with a sensor, a brain thing, which might be a microprocessor or a PLC or an Arduino. There's always power of some kind, so there's a power supply, a bunch of different kinds of power supplies, but you still need power, whether it be a battery or something that you plug in. And a lot of them have LEDs, right? We all love LEDs. Blinky is like our world. Just a quick overview of my background. I designed industrial equipment for about 8 years. So all of those 5 equipments are things that I designed the control systems for. Designed the electronics, then the power supplies, and just put those things together. The first engineering project that I ever worked on was a radiation detector. And so I was talking about how every project or product, and I'll just quickly define that by a product is something that we are selling, and a project is something that becomes perhaps before the sale, just the thing that is born from the passion. So this is a Geiger-Müller tube, And it's a simple sensor. It senses ionizing radiation from the sky, from the ground, possibly if there is a radiation leak from a power plant. It's a pretty important sensor in our world. And it's because radiation is something that can be really dangerous, and we can't see it. We have no way of knowing that there is danger in the air. This is called the URAD, and this was a Hackaday Prize entry from 2014. So this is last year. And it's a man named Radu Modasan who designed this. So I just want to point out that all of these slides that when I talk about other people's projects, they will have a link on the bottom that you can go to see the project. So what I'm showing here is something that is a product, but Radu started as a project. And I thought this was very inspiring, what he says, that what started as a hobby project with just a simple Geiger clicker using that sensor that I showed just a couple slides ago, it's now gone from digital, meaning just some idea on the screen, to a global level, and the first units are already running. So he wrote that about 7 months ago. He's got this URAD meter in 17 different countries, and it's a networked radiation detector. So if there is radiation leak in any country, everybody will know. There's another project. This is a project that's in process of becoming a product. It's called SafeSense, and this is something else that is on the Hackaday.io site. This is a wireless environmental monitor that has every kind of sensor that you can possibly imagine. It's got temperature, it's got moisture, it's got vibration, seismic, which is for earthquakes, and a couple others. I think there's about 7 altogether. And so this person who is making it has not yet made it into a product, but is pretty much on the way. I imagine if he lived in Shenzhen, it would be a product. It probably just doesn't have the resources or quite the right steps yet to get there. I wanted everybody here just to take a second and think to yourselves, you don't need to share it with anybody, how you would make your life better with the technology, with a piece of technology. Maybe it doesn't even exist. I'll get you started. Right now, I am so hot. If I had like a floating fan above me, that would make my life a lot better. So just take a minute. How many people thought of something? Raise your hand if you thought of something. It's not that easy, right? I saw about 4 hands. So it takes a little bit of effort to think about what kind of project or product could make your life better, or even just to get an idea. So I point this out because I don't want you to be, nobody should be discouraged when you're like, oh wow, there's all these good ideas in the world, and how come I don't have one? It takes a lot of work to think up these ideas. Pictured here, next. Yeah. So pictured here are all the ingredients to making a good project or product. Pretty much everything, like I said, will have a brain, which is this one all the way on the left. This is similar to an Arduino. It's a microprocessor board. You always will have an output, which might be an LCD screen. It might be a fan. It might be a light. You're always going to have some kind of output and some kind of input, which is a sensor from the world around us. So I just put a temperature sensor, which is all the way on the right, and I think that's an alcohol sensor, like a breathalyzer sensor that's in the middle, that orange thing. So, as promised, if you were bored by that, I'm going to move on and tell you guys a funny story from Maker Faire in Bay Area from 2012. So, how many people here have cell phones? Yeah, I know, right? Okay, everyone's hand. So, cell phone signals, it's pretty amazing that cell phones work even at all, because the signal level is very, very small. It's about minus 109 dB, if that means anything to anyone. And it's quite amazing that a cell phone signal even can get picked up, you know, from here to when I call my husband in the United States. Of course, there's a network that makes this happen. But I thought that it would be fun to make an art project. Say all of you were talking on the phone or texting or something, and I had a network of lights over here. I thought it would be interesting or fun to detect that and show the radio frequency waves in the form of LEDs. So this is a project called Cell Phone Disco that's made by I think it's a Norwegian company called Information Lab. So they did this, and this is a really cool project, and I saw this in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania in the United States. So I wanted to bring something to Maker Faire. So I came up with a 2.5 meter tall VU meter. So that's here, we'll just see it work. This is what happens when a cell phone activity is happening. And so, of course, this goes up and down depending on how close you are when you're texting to it. And so I thought, great, I'm going to bring this to California from New York, and that's about 4,800, 4,900 kilometers away and requires shipping and a lot of effort. And so in the United States, we can look at cell tower maps. We know where every cell tower is in every state across the country. If there had been a cell tower next to a project like that, my project wouldn't work. It would just be on all the time. So I researched this. I'm like, I'm going to San Mateo. I'm going to see what's happening with the cell phone towers. And there were a lot of people complaining that there was no cell service. There's no cell towers. It's really quiet. There's really windy. I'm dropping bars all the time. So I thought, oh my God, this will be amazing. I'll just bring this project here, and all that anything will be detected is the cell phone signals of everybody at Maker Faire. So I ship my project, 4,800 kilometers and $1,200 for shipping this project, and 3 people and a lot of effort and a lot of time. And we get there and the project doesn't work. It's on all the time. And it's as though there is a cell tower right next door. And actually it turned out that there was, because Maker Faire Bay Area brought us 3 cell towers for all the participants so we could have good cell service in this terrible area. In fact, it was so strong that one of them had this giant danger sign on it. So that kind of sucked. So what is called a Maker Faire save when you bring a project and you spend a lot of effort and time and money and it doesn't work? And this happens a lot. I mean, we've all, I think, done demos where the thing doesn't work and you have to save face or you're going to be embarrassed. So we built a Faraday cage, which is basically just a shield over the entire project. We had to shield out the cell phone towers that were parked right next to my project. And I was very lucky that someone in the area had this Faraday cage material. So this is what I would call a project, and it was not born of any way to make money. So this did actually become a product, and actually see that everyone's got their attention on this funny story. I don't see a lot of people texting. But typically, in meetings, this is what it looks like. Everybody is texting. Nobody is paying attention. So there's actually there's a good market for a product that is called the Meeting Minder. The Meeting Minder sits on a conference table, and it glows softly when someone is texting, alerting the boss that somebody in the meeting is absolutely not paying attention. Yeah, exactly. So this product is also good for schools, for testing, to make sure people are not cheating. Anyway, I did not actually make this product, but you all are free to go ahead and take this idea and run with it. I've even published the schematics on my website. So I'm going to run through a few, as I said, if you were bored, we're moving on again. A few Hackaday Prize entries from this year. So some of these entries haven't become products yet. They have barely become projects yet. They are still in the idea phase. And this is one that is still in the idea phase. So I think everyone, or many people, I see a lot of people wearing glasses. I wear contacts. Vision is something that we can all relate to, vision problems. But 285 million people in the world have vision badly enough that they can't read, which is really, that's a big problem. And so the 4 people that raised their hands who thought of a problem that could be solved, this is the kind of thing that you can solve when you're thinking about what kind of things affect you. Someone thought of glasses when they couldn't see. So Braille is a type of technology. I think everyone's familiar with it. It's raised dots that you touch, and this is a way that you can read. And so a disadvantage that someone who's vision impaired has, mostly Braille has gone, it's on the decline for reading, because audiobooks are just pretty much ubiquitous now. But what about computers? Somebody who is vision impaired is very much at a disadvantage because they can't actually use a computer. So somebody named Hayden Jones came up with a Braille computer. This is a technology that exists. Hayden aims to make this technology for about 25% of the price of what a normal Braille computer costs. And so it's a computer that has a refresh rate. It's got a bunch of dots and a whole bunch of motors underneath, and it refreshes all the dots at a really fast pace. So Hayden has this project entered in the Hackaday Prize, and he's at an idea level. He's won some things too, because we're giving away some sort of prizes for just ideas. It's a really good idea, and it could help a lot of people. I live in the country. I have a garden, and I'm super lazy. Definitely do not want to be watering my garden twice a day, which is what it takes to grow really good vegetables. This person, Frank Vigilante, again, I'm just going to say to your attention that's the link if you want to look at any of these projects to inspire you or just out of interest. He came up with something that's an automatic garden waterer. It actually does a lot of other things too. He came up with an Arduino circuit that uses a moisture sensor to water the garden automatically. So he can just lay in that hammock all day long and doesn't have to water it. So Frank's project helped only him. But when you have a whole community that needs to eat, you need a bigger automated garden robot. So this is the FarmBot, and this was an entry into the Hackaday Prize in 2014, and this is now a product. This team, Rory Aronson, did a Kickstarter. They were overfunded. They got quite a lot of money, and they are now a product. And they've got, I think, 3 different versions of this. So this is FarmBot. FarmBot is a 2-axis CNC-controlled farming machine that you can control from your iPad or your computer, and you can tell it where to plant the seeds and how deep to plant the seeds. So this was born from started as an idea, became a project, and is now a product that is making a company money. This is one of my projects that did become a product. It's called a nose poke. A nose poke is a general term for something that's used in science research for mice. So the way it's an incredibly simple circuit. There's a transmitter and a receiver, and that's it. If the mouse pokes its nose in between, a signal is sent to another piece of equipment. That's what it looks like in the lab. And so what happens when the mouse pokes, it receives some sugar. And the mouse is really happy and just pokes its head in between these sensors over and over again. And this is good for the researchers because they can put sugar there at some points and not sugar there at some other points. I sold this product to a lab in Washington, D.C., and it was used in Parkinson's research. So this was my brother's lab, and I work with my brother quite a bit. And from this product, we decided to go backwards and into a funny project. We thought we would use the same idea where we were training the mice that we would train fish. And we would call it Fish Circus. Oops. took about 2 days to train the fish. The fish learned pretty quick that if it swam through the shark jaws, it would get fed. And in fact, we couldn't keep it out of the shark jaws. We had to put a delay on the food. But there's actually a little bit of a funnier story there, which is that there was a second fish in the same tank. The second fish learned to wait for the first fish to go through and then snap up all the food. So this is the last topic. I think I'm a little bit over time, so I'm just going to go quick. This was a, what's going on here? This is called I Drive Wheelchair, and it's for men who have a disease called ALS. And ALS paralyzes you. It's a terrible disease. It paralyzes you from the outside in. And the last thing to go is your brain and your eyes. And so a person who has this really horrible but rare disease can no longer be mobile by themselves. So pictured here is Patrick Joyce, and he has this disease, and he's at the advanced stage to where only his eyes are functional. So he designed it is going to be a product, because he is just about to launch as a crowdfunding campaign, a wheelchair that can be driven by the eyes. So it's eye tracking software that controls a joystick that's 3D printed, and there's a collaborative team of 4. And so this team found each other on the Hackaday.io website. Kind of amazing that 4 people with ALS are putting together this product to help each other and to help anybody else in the world who has ALS. And so I'll just leave you with this last thought, that anyone who has an idea to make a project or a product, it doesn't need to be difficult at all. You could have maybe just a couple of components: a sensor, a power supply, a brain, microprocessor, Arduino. It's very straightforward. It doesn't need to be special. There's all my contact information on the bottom if anyone wants to talk about any of this. Thank you.